Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Times of Ummah. Today's first news update is coming from Pakistan, where the Pakistani Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi urged the United Nations Security Council to issue a call for an end to Israel's devastating violence against the Palestinians in Gaza, saying it is time to say enough. Dear viewers, Shah Mahmood Qureshi said in an emergency meeting of the United Nations General Assembly, Israel had mounted a relentless onslaught on the people of Palestine, resulting in scores of deaths and limited access to food, water, hygiene, and health services. He added hospitals and hygiene services depended on electricity, but fuel for the power plants had almost run out. Dear viewers, till now 232 people have been killed in Gaza and 12 Israeli have also been killed. And after Turkey, Pakistan is also taking serious steps to calm the violence and restore peace in Gaza and Palestine. Qureshi said, as we speak, people in Palestine are being killed with impunity. Death echoes in every home in Gaza. The enclave is plunged in darkness, literally and metaphorically. The only light is of Israeli explosions. Mr. Qureshi said, this is Palestine, where in full view of the world, Israeli airstrikes bringing down entire buildings to kill and terrorize innocent Palestinians and even silence the media. Because Israel has crossed all the limits and destroyed several high-rise buildings, including media outlets, offices, especially the Al Jazeera. Shah Mahmood Qureshi also gave a clear message to the whole world and said, this is the time to say enough. The voice of Palestinian people can't and will not be silenced. We, the representatives of Islamic world, are here to speak with them and for them. Dear viewers, it is intolerable by every Muslim that anyone attacks on Muslim holy places, and Israel has crossed all the limits. But United States has took their side, and United States is like blind to see the ground realities. The foreign minister also said that it was a feeling that the United Nations Security Council had been unable to exercise its primary responsibility of maintaining international peace and security, adding that it had failed to demand even a cessation of hostilities. Dear viewers, one thing we learn here is United States just voice for human rights where they have their own interests, like they're doing in China about Uyghurs. But inside Gaza, dozens of children have been killed, and United States even did not condemn it, including Al Jazeera's office. Today's second news update is coming from Afghanistan, where the Afghanistan president has said Pakistan will decide Afghanistan's future, as the United States only has a minor role now in the country after almost 20 years of uninterrupted military presence. In the United States Congress this week, both the members from Democrats and Republicans have expressed concerns over the Afghanistan's future, as the United States will fully pull out its forces from. President Ashraf Ghani said in an interview that bringing peace to Afghanistan now was first and foremost a matter of getting Pakistan on board, and the withdrawal would greatly reduce America's influence in the country. The United States now plays only a minor role. The question of peace or hostility is now in the Pakistan hands. A congresswoman described the Afghan president's claim as quite a statement and asked America's chief negotiator on Afghan affairs, Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad, about the way forward. She asked the ambassador, what specially are you doing to push Pakistan's leader and to ensure that they do step up the way we want them to? Khalilzad has said that he believed Pakistan's civilian and military leadership both recognized there was economic benefit in having peace in Afghanistan. The Pakistani Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa and Prime Minister Imran Khan both also recognized that this economic benefit is where the future is. General Bajwa has said countries don't develop, regions develops. Khalilzad also said that I know there are challenges inside Pakistan, but I believe that General Bajwa's last visit to Kabul was positive. They have discussed some steps that the two sides will take, working with the United Kingdoms in support of the efforts to improve relations between these two countries. Dear viewers, peace in Afghanistan is now an international issue, but unfortunately United States has chosen to withdraw its forces and leave Afghanistan for in another civil war. The United States envoy also underlined that the need to weigh Ghani's statement in the regional context, adding President Ghani is right in the sense that the region is important for a peace agreement to bring lasting stability to Afghanistan. It needs broad support inside Afghanistan and in the region, because part of Afghanistan's problem has been a proxy conflict. Dear viewers, now this is clear Pakistan can play a vital role in the peace process of Afghanistan, but the both warring sides, Taliban and Afghan government, will have to come to table and solve its issues. On the other hand, the country can go for a civil war and Afghans will pay a heavy price as they head after Russia defeated by Mujahideen. Dear viewers, there are talks on back doors and maybe Pakistan's success to bring both sides to sign an agreement, because United States government have left it up to Pakistan and Pakistan will have to tackle it responsibly. race. Third news update is coming from United States, where the United States is imposing sanctions on two Houthis rebels commanders who was accused for seizing Marib region. Dear viewers, on April 25, Houthis rebels was seized control of Qasara and they were still advancing toward the center of Marib city despite heavy casualties and deaths. But now United States has said it will impose sanctions on them. Tim King, who pushed a ceasefire between Houthis and Saudi Arabia, has said on Thursday that all forts and air force in Yemen should be open to ease a humanitarian crisis. The Houthis are not winning in Marib. Instead, they are putting a great deal of stress on the already very fragile humanitarian situation. They are putting the lives of 1 million internally displaced people in danger. And we had also updated you that Saudi Arabia had proposed a nationwide ceasefire in March, as well as the reopening of air and sea links to bolster efforts to end the conflict. But the further progress has been stuck as Houthis made a series of counter-proposals that were apparently not acceptable. The Lender King said the United States would on Thursday impose sanctions on head of the general staff leading the Houthis offensive in Marib, Muhammad Abdul Karim al-Gamali, and on a prominent leader of Houthis forces assigned to the advance on Marib, Yusuf al-Madani. He added if there were no offensive, if there were commitment to peace, if the parties are still showing up to deal constructively with the United Nations and why there would be no need for designation. Last month, he accused Iran of backing Houthis rebels and said Iran provides missiles and drones that Houthis using against Saudi Arabia, but Tehran have several times rejected its accusations. Dear viewers, Lender King welcomed the direct talks between Saudi Arabia and Iran as constructive, but he said he has not yet seen positive Iranian engagement toward ending the Yemen conflict, which has killed tens of thousands of people and pushed millions to the brink of famine. He added, I do think this is potentially a constructive engagement and we wish both parties success because it will be not only good for overall tensions in the region, but there should be positive impact on Yemen conflict in particular. The talks between Saudi Arabia and Iran has started and experts said it will discuss especially Yemen's conflict. Lender King called on Tehran to support peace talks and said Washington wants a long-term solution that goes beyond a ceasefire, which NY said was the only way Yemenis would get the humanitarian relief they require. And the United Nations Security Council have also called for immediate ceasefire and urged to solve the issue with political settlement. Dear viewers, we hope Iran and Saudi talks will remain good consequences, because the United Nations humanitarian chief Mark Lowcock told the council that about 25,000 people have fled the fighting in Marib, many for the second or third time. He said if the fighting doesn't stop, aid agencies fear up to 385,000 people could be displaced in the coming months.